This is the third of 3 note-taking videos. This is just some additional tips. This video will be a little shorter than the first 2. We'll get through it rather quickly. Don't be afraid to pause if you need to write any of this information down or make some notes yourself. So something that can be very useful is to date your notes. Help you remember on which day of class you took which notes and helps to keep them in order. I suggest you always begin each day on a new sheet of paper so that each day's notes have a nice, easy to find beginning. It's a good idea to use highlighters or colored pencils to personalize your notes, to draw attention to certain things. It may be difficult to do in class, but when you go back through and review your notes later, highlighting or again using colored pencils can really kind of jazz them up and make them easier to read and follow. And as you go through your notes, and especially in the rereading part, if there's something previous to the lecture that you need to review, some kind of old material, make notes of that. That's a good thing to have and to remember, and it helps you to understand the prior knowledge you need to do something new that you're working on. It's a good idea to review your notes regularly. Just rereading them will improve retention. We'll learn more about that later in the semester when we talk about how our memories work. It's always a good idea to add additional notes while you're reviewing them or clarify things. And you can even potentially go through the process of rewriting your notes. It's a really powerful study technique for some people. One of the things that's important with the notes, especially if you're going to rewrite them, is try to rewrite them into your own words. The more that you can write things in the vocabulary that you currently have and in a language that you are comfortable with, the more that knowledge becomes your own knowledge, the more that learning will tend to stick with you. And it's a good idea to always find connections to other math that you've done before, to other courses that you're taking or have taken where you needed math. And one of the ways to find connections is to use analogies, metaphors, similes, things that kind of paint a picture of what's going on mathematically, but maybe through comparison to something else. You can use your notes to quiz yourself. Do you know main ideas? Do you know vocabulary? Do you remember the kinds of problems or types of problems that you've been working with? Can you try work through an example that you've seen or written down, but without looking at that solution process, just looking at the problem and then trying it on your own on a separate sheet of paper? It's a good idea to create a glossary of the vocabulary and the concepts, terms, laws, rules, properties, etc. that you're learning. You might do that on paper, you might do that on note cards to study from. So main ideas, concept rules, formulas, etc. are good ideas. What you're doing is creating a toolbox. Mathematics is full of tools. How do we add? How do we subtract? What is our vocabulary? What are our theorems? And the bigger your toolbox is, the fuller it is of tools, and the better you understand what those tools are and how to use them, the better you will be at doing mathematics. Not a bad idea to create a problem log. That's a list of problems that your instructor has worked in class and assigned. It can also include examples and things that maybe haven't been assigned. Those problems can be used to help you study for quizzes and tests. Great way to use them is to create your own practice quizzes and tests with problems from that problem log. Finally, calculators can be really important parts of some math classes, and they'll be very specific keys that you need to use, and sometimes those keystroke combinations get a little complicated. So it might not be a bad idea to create your own little handbook for how to use the calculator. All right, record those steps and keys that are required to convert fractions to decimals, decimals to fractions, mixed numbers to whole numbers, to graph things if you're in a class that involves graphing. Lots of different tools. If your instructor is using them, if he or she is showing you how to use them, that means they're important and you need to remember how to use those things. Note cards can be a good way to create this handbook, or even just creating having a separate notebook or part of a notebook where you can write this stuff down, or even just a sheet of paper where you record everything. Just make sure it's something that's not easy to lose.